Welcome to the fourth episode of Friendzone Chronicles. We are now basically 1 month into the official run of Friendzone, 1 month after the official release, and I want to take a look at how things are going and share this with you. So we will talk a little bit about launch day, launch week, and the past 4 weeks going into this, and from then we will basically have a whole picture, and in the next episode I will try to share a little bit on what I will focus on and what my next steps based on these learnings are. So let's jump into rewind back 4 weeks. And 4 weeks ago, it was basically the day before the launch, and my hopes were that everything technical related to the paywall and everything around that would work and there were no big problems. So I released the app 1 day before the official launch day to the App Store, and I tested it, and after some initial struggles and some concerns, everything went well, technically. Everything went well for the paywall and everything around that from a technical perspective. So I'm not aware of any big problems, people not able to complete the onboarding or the paywall. So I'm really not aware of any of these problems, which is already a good success for me because this was the first time I was building a product with a paywall and with a subscription attached to this and doing all that kind of work. So this was definitely great. Then, when we look into and go one step further into the launch day, I had 3 pillars that I primarily tried to focus on. The first was my own kind of marketing outreach on my social profiles. The second was publications, blogs that I tried to reach out and I tried to get coverage from them. And the third was Apple and App Store feature. And let's go step by step now through these pillars and talk a little bit about how they went, basically. And a little bit of a spoiler at the beginning probably is that the first one, which we'll focus on, it's my own social profiles, were by far the best in terms of the performance. So what I did, basically, I launched a website. I wrote a blog post on the website. I will also link in the show notes. And I recorded a video, like a minute, roughly, a little bit over a minute video, me doing a quick walkthrough of Friendzone and sharing that on YouTube and in the blog post, and also sharing that together with a couple of additional posts on social media. When I say social media, what I mean specifically here is on Mastodon, on Threads, on Blue Sky, on LinkedIn as well, and I think that's about it. By far, the 2 services that performed the best were obviously Mastodon, which is my personal primary social network that I use, and Threads as well. Threads performed so well in comparison that I think this is still today the biggest driver of traffic for me and for downloads and installs. So when we look into Threads, we see we are a little bit shy of 300 likes of the initial post, and the overall views are currently at 26,000 views of the initial post with the video me walking through Friendzone, which is definitely something that helped a lot. So I got a lot of comments and interactions here, and a lot of downloads and trial starts. Mastodon a little bit less, but still very high quality. The rest didn't matter that much, but this got definitely like a couple of 100 downloads from these initial postings. Overall, when we look at the first bucket, I think that was definitely a success. This went great. The second bucket, and now we get into the more difficult areas, was trying to get press coverage. And that worked for the launch day, not at all. And in the end, I only got 1 blog post a couple of days after launch, which I'm very thankful for, but it wasn't what I was hoping for, really. In the sense that I was hoping for a little bit broader coverage for Friendzone, but yeah, you need to take this and you need to try again the next time when there is a big update or something interesting. And maybe then I also have a little bit more of maybe an angle that is intriguing to get a little bit more coverage, because I think definitely for a lot of apps, and for this type of app specifically, press coverage is definitely very important for downloads. So we sadly didn't get that. The third and last pillar here, and we can do this very, very quickly, App Store features, no. Zero. I tried that. I tried to do this with the new features of nominating your app. I just added like all the descriptions and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't get any feature. Always with Apple features, that's a little bit of a gamble anyways. So we didn't get that. In hindsight, I think like overall the feeling from the launch for the first like launch day and the first couple of days so far, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. So the positive things definitely were no big technical struggles or technical problems, which was great. My own outlets, social media outlets, worked great. Threads, again, specifically here. And this is also one of the bigger learnings from the initial couple of weeks or months doing the teasing of Friendzone on my different social media profiles and Threads specifically with these teaser videos. This is something that really, really works and helps build interest in Friendzone. And this continues to be the case now, as a little bit of a spoiler, that I will continue doing, and it continuously gets interest and downloads and trials. The other two are things that I don't have fully in control. I don't have a lot of like press contacts or a lot of like build relationships there. So this is always a little bit of a gamble, and the same is true for the Apple features. But the bottom line here is that try again, and maybe at some point there is a little bit more push there through the Apple features or a press coverage. Now, this was like, let's say the first week. One thing I did in the second week also was launching Friendzone, so to say, on Product Hunt, which was, besides my own social media sharing, the second best way of getting people interested and getting people into the door. I don't remember on the day that I launched on Product Hunt which specific place Friendzone was. It was around like 11, 12 or so, product of the day, which is great. It got like 140-ish or so upvotes. Don't quote me on that. It's in that area roughly. But it was the second best day so far with downloads and trials. And I think this is definitely something that aligns with one of the assumptions that I want to double click on later on, that I think Friendzone is a product that a certain set of people are definitely very interested in, but you need to put it in front of their eyeballs. So they will see it and then they make a connection and then they download it and start a trial potentially, in comparison to searching themselves in the App Store, because this is something that I don't think a lot of people have, that natural pain feeling. But when they see it, they start thinking about it. But let's table that for a later section. What I want to double click right now on as well is a little bit of like giving you an idea about like numbers and stuff. And I'm not talking about necessarily like dollar amounts, which I don't want to cover in this podcast, but a little bit of the learnings of, okay, how many people from the downloads then maybe started a trial, and like what is the share of people who started a trial and then are paid customers, and what is the share between like your offerings that you have with like a lifetime option, a monthly plan, and a yearly plan, like what is the share between all of them. And I want to talk a little bit about that. And before we jump into this, like what I tried to do in the past couple of weeks, and I need to get better at that as well in the next couple of weeks, is like making sense of these numbers. And what I rely on now very heavily is looking at the State of Subscription Apps 2025 from RevenueCat and then matching the different metrics to what they see on their customer base. So the first thing I want to share a little bit about is the download to trials conversion rate. And here, when we look at the productivity section, the median is in the middle single digits. The top numbers and the top conversion rates from download to trial based on the RevenueCat numbers for the productivity category is around like 18-20%-ish. I'm right now with Friendzone in like the 25-30 area. I'm not sure what to make of this right now. I think like some of this is definitely from people who were part of the beta and the test flight and all that kind of stuff and interested in it. So I still expect this number to go down. But I think that download to trial is definitely an area that is very good right now. And I expect it to, again, go down a little bit, but not completely tank. I might be wrong, but we will see in the next couple of weeks and months. But this is at least a signal that I would put into the very positive category and leads me to the assumption that the onboarding so far until the paywall is okay. It's good, maybe even. The next step that we can look into is like from the people that started a trial, how many of these convert into paying customers. And now we land into a different and a difficult area. Right now, I'm at around 25 to like 30-ish%. So the numbers here are very similar. The percentage numbers are very similar, which is kind of funny, that the trial to paid is in a similar percentage area than the download to trial rates. When we look at the trial to paid rate now, the numbers that I see as benchmarks from RevenueCat are way higher. So we are looking into the 40s and up onto the 60% of users who started the trial also convert into paying customers. So this is a concern for me, and this can have multiple reasons. It can still be the feeling that Friendzone is received as definitely not cheap. But maybe the value here isn't clear enough, or it's not really felt enough. Maybe the trial period is too short and the value is very much in a race here against the time of the 2 weeks. And maybe it is that for people who haven't had experience with organizing and personal CRM, Rolodex kind of apps, are the ones that don't feel that value immediately and therefore drop off, and the others are the ones who stay. I need to do a little bit more digging here, but this is definitely an area that I want to focus on more in the next couple of weeks, to trying to make sense of that. When we look at the overall one-time purchase, like the lifetime option to subscription share, is that the one-time purchase is a little bit shy of 20% right now, which is great. This is, for me, more revenue right now, which I can invest into Friendzone and trying to get more eyeballs and more people looking at Friendzone. When we just look at the subscription share between yearly and monthly, it's roughly right now at 45% yearly and 55% monthly, which is, I guess, good, okay, I don't know. Like, this is like a feeling, and I'm just sharing things as I'm going here. This is something which I'm quite unsure about. On the one side, it makes me a little bit nervous because monthly means next month they can all churn, theoretically. It obviously means more revenue for me, but that makes me a little bit nervous that like a little bit of over half of the people are on a monthly plan right now. But it's probably unrealistic to expect that the vast majority of people are on a yearly plan. So that's probably kind of the balance here. And this is also like slowly goes into the area of what I currently perceive as one of the biggest problems, which is I need to get more people seeing Friendzone. So working on the top of the funnel is definitely the biggest problem for me. And I've seen that more and more due to a lack of inflow and downloads through the natural app store day to day, like going through searches and all that kind of stuff, because the overall search volume for keywords that very well match my target audience with Friendzone, like personal CRM, Rolodex, friendship tracker, or similar keywords, don't have a very high volume of searches. And then it is also difficult to get up in the ranking. And I'm currently trying to get up in the ranking here. And that also then is in relationship to getting more reviews and ratings in the App Store and all these kind of topics. So where are we at right now with Friendzone? So it's kind of like looking back at this for the past 4 weeks. It's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. I think the app itself is in a state where I didn't had a lot of big technical issues right now. I had like one struggle, but that was only on a feature that I developed, and it's nothing that I basically aware of that had problems with, like big problems with customers. Maybe somebody hasn't told me anything about it, but that is definitely a plus. My own kind of social media presence and sharing continues to be working, specifically on Threads. And this is definitely something I need to double down on, and that works very, very, very well. The other things around like getting coverage, media coverage and press coverage and the App Store features and all that kind of stuff, that didn't work out, and that's not great. As I said earlier, the download to trial rate seems very, very healthy and very, very great. The trial to paid rate doesn't look very healthy, and we need to work on this. One last thing I also want to touch on in this episode before we wrap this up, this is already a very long episode, kind of a ramble one, is like overall feedback that I've received. I think overall, and that might be again similar to this bucketing of if people already have experience with such an app or have thought about something like this before, I think it's way, way easier for them to get the hang of it. And the feedback I've got so far was always in the area of like, oh, this would be interesting to add, or this, but no real complaints. The two biggest pieces of like public feedback specifically, and that was only on Threads as well, like the big piece here was definitely like around pricing and having a hard paywall, which is part of the deal, kind of. And obviously you get a couple of like negative comments or people like really being not happy about that and sharing that, which is fine as long as it stays like objective and friendly, to be honest. But so far, even if I've been thinking about like, was this the right decision or not? And it's always a little bit difficult to get in contact with this kind of like pushback, is so far at least the numbers from download to trial speak a different truth than the feedback. And so far I don't really think that is something that is really slowing my growth or slowing Friendzone as a business down. But we might end up in the same topic again when we take a deeper and closer look to the trial to paid rate. Maybe there is something where for long-term growth, just the trial duration is a problem, or I need to work more actively on activating these people and trying to show them really clearly what the value of Friendzone can be very early on, and don't rely on the birthday or the reminder, because the birthday of a friend or reminder and all these kind of things, that might not happen in these 2 weeks. And that is a little bit of the difficulty that I'm currently in right now. I will stop this episode at this point, and in the next episode we will talk about in more detail what I think I will focus on more. And then hopefully also there is a new version, the version 1.1, with a couple of great new functionality around message services and other quality of life improvements. Thank you for your time. And if you have any kind of feedback around Friendzone or this podcast or anything like that, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to chat and learn more about how I can make Friendzone a better product that helps you in your relationships and friendships. Thank you very much and have a great day.